Going in three, two, one. What's going on, folks? Your guy Tom again, TG here for Ice Cold Sports, America's Sports Show, as you already know. Here with my guy, my pal, Zachary, Detroit Lions. How you doing, Zach?
You're I
Let's hear it.
I have some nerve. I have some nerve even coming on this podcast.
I know you do.
I have a bone to pick.
What's big that bone? What's big that bone? Oh man, yes. We will get to
I
that
I shouldn't have even done you the courtesy of showing, but I did. I did for the people.
for the people. That's yes.
Embrace debate. Don't hide in your echo chamber.
We'll be talking about that in just a quick moment, all right? But let's get to what people want to hear about the wild card. They don't want to hear about us right away talking about all that crap. We'll talk about the wild card first. Obviously, wild card round this weekend. Exciting stuff. We have 6 games to look forward to, which is nice. We have to appreciate football while we have it because next thing you know, we're not going to have any football at all very soon. Very soon. So let's start it off. We'll talk about the Seahawks and the 49ers. Pete Carroll said something today. He said, like, oh, man, I don't know if we can win this game against the 49ers, which great
Confident,
psyop. Here, what?
confident.
Well, not confident. Well,
I I. Do you need the sarcasm font?
okay. Sorry. I was not looking at your face when you were saying that. Well, here's the thing is that I think that's Richard Sherman says, well, that's how he operates. Like, he has a plan. Like, he's going to use this as motivation. Like, he
Yeah,
believes he can win, and he's saying this kind of stuff just to, he's old school, saying, oh, man, we don't have a chance in this game.
Yeah, I saw shirt what Sherman said too, something to the tune of like old dogs, old tricks, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Even after reading that, I still have no idea what the motive might be.
Well, I think
Um,
back, this is going to sound completely off topic, but I think it relates. I listened to a book called The Boys in the Boat. And it was all about back in the olden days, boat racing amongst colleges. But the point is, the coaches of those boat races, when they were talking to the press, they would always say, "Oh, it's tough. We're gonna, they have an amazing team. I don't think we can do it this year, guys. Sorry." Like they would like compete to say a more pessimistic thing about their own team, and it was almost like kind of just like uh, 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 just playing it down specifically, so that way the rise is even higher. I think that's the idea. So that's what I'm thinking is going on there. Old school
Interesting.
tactics.
Um, yeah, I just think this one's going to come down to whether I just don't know that even I still have my doubts about Purdy, but the scheme is just proven to be so strong and so quarterback proof ever since Shanahan stepped in that the Seattle's light on the defensive line. The Niners have been, I know the Niners haven't produced like a star like fantasy running back or anything in the last like 5 years, but they are consistently one of the better rushing teams in the NFL.
And now they
This
have
is
Christian
the time.
McCaffrey.
Now they have Christian McCaffrey. This is the time of the year where you need to prove you can run the hell out of the ball. The Niners sure can.
And they're going to need
Um,
to on Saturday because it's going to be very rainy.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know about like a blowout situation, but more of like a crock potting, like a nice slow burn.
I see.
I just
Ooh, tasty.
I don't see Seattle getting a ton going on either side of the ball in this game.
So you're telling me you're not based in Geno Pilled?
I'm not what now?
You're not based in Geno Pilled?
What does this mean?
You're based in
Is this
Geno Pilled.
did I miss a meme or
You did
something?
miss a meme pretty hard. You're not a believer in Geno Smith. You're not Geno Pilled.
He's been great this year. I can't but the this Niners defense is so
No, you're
good
right.
at taking things away from an offense that
Hmm.
it's not the Seahawks offense is good, but it's not like it's not like elite going against a Niners defense that is truly elite. So
True. I mean, I agree with you 100%. Although the weather could be a factor that could make the game a lot messier. And the last time the Niners played in weather this bad was week 1 against the Bears. We all know how that turned out. So who knows? It could turn into a crapshoot. But I think you have to stick with the Niners. I like Brock Purdy a lot. I like him more than you like him. I think that he is consistent enough and can do the small things right enough that they can get by with him at QB. That's my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I mean, he's already proven to be a very intelligent processor. I'm waiting for the team that, yeah, that really tests his arm,
Sure.
makes him throw into tight windows, makes him make plays downfield.
I don't think that's the
Um,
Seahawks.
I agree. I don't think that's the Seahawks.
Moving on. Jaguars. The Chargers out of the Jaguars. Obviously, Jags' first playoff game since that run back in 2017
My
with
guy,
Blake
Blake
Bortles.
Bortles.
Oh, yeah, the boat. Shout out, pardon my take. And now they take on a Chargers team. I've been hearing the whispers around the NFL is that Brandon Staley needs to win this game or he loses his job. At least that's what people are saying, which I think is a little bit of overreaction, but whatever. Um, is this a Justin Herbert legacy game already? Because I mean, we've been talking about Justin Herbert in very elite company the last couple of years. Do you start getting a narrative of can he win the big one? You know, if he loses this game, because he's already had difficulty, getting to the postseason. Could this, if he loses to Jacksonville, could it be beginning of a new narrative?
I don't know. I'd understand having that conversation if it was like, I don't know, like year like 7 for him maybe, but year 3 for Herbert. I just don't think, like, are we going to do the same, like, are we going to do the same thing to Lawrence on the other side in year 2 for him? Like,
Well, I mean,
um
he led a team that should not have made the playoffs to the playoffs. So it's not the same thing as Herbert having a team that should have made the playoffs miss the playoffs.
I would say both of those teams are pretty equally talented on defense, or sorry, on offense, especially considering the injuries that the Chargers have dealt with this year.
Mike Williams could be out this Saturday. That's something to look out for.
It wouldn't be anything new for Herbert though. He's only played with Allen Williams and the Tennessee guy Palmer. He's only played with those three guys together. I think for like 3 or 4 games this season. He's still made plays. He still has a gun. He still has the best arm in the NFL. My eyeballs tell me things about Justin Herbert that, maybe the stat sheet and the result column don't always.
Hmm. We'll get to that little thought process in a little bit, but I actually have to disagree. I think the Jaguars are the hot hand right now. They are hot, hot, hot. Trevor Lawrence is making his own as a true star in this league. And also, the last time these two teams played, the Chargers got outclassed completely at home by the Jaguars before the Jaguars were even the Jaguars. So I'm gonna say the Jags pull the upset here. I'm guessing you go the other way.
I think I am going to go the other way. I am going to go with the Chargers here.
Makes sense. All right. Next up, Dolphins at Bills. This is just unfair to Dolphins fans. I mean, Tua being out, and now you got to go with Skylar Thompson, who I feel bad for. I just feel rookie year, and he has the weight of the entire franchise on his shoulders already. Like, that's just tough. Like, it's tough because in the preseason, he looked really good, but you don't expect to immediately have to throw everything on this kid. And now you have to send
No,
him
not at all.
into the fire in Buffalo for a playoff game. I mean, it's just I do not think the Dolphins win this game. I think the Bills will run over them pretty bad. I feel sorry for the Dolphins. I feel sorry for Dolphins fans, but I say what I said.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you and with you, TG. I think this is going to be pretty easy for the Bills. This is your I can't remember what like time slot this is in
1 p.m.
on our
1
1 p.m.
p.m.
Saturday.
Eastern, 11 o'clock Mountain Time, where you are.
On Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is your go out, get some errands done, go go to lunch with the wife. Maybe that's your time slot for doing that. Um, because I don't know. This is going to be I'm getting strong Team of Destiny vibes from the Bills, and this Dolphins offense, as much shit as Tua gets for his lack of arm strength, this offense just doesn't tick as well
Yeah,
without Tua. Um, so I don't know. I got the Bills pretty easy here.
I agree with you. If the Dolphins with him are Tua, then with Skylar Thompson they're one-a.
Not one of your not one of your
One of my better
best.
ones. We'll work on it.
No, we'll
Um,
workshop it.
then Giants at Vikings. This is a weird one to me because on one hand, and what time is this game? This one is 4:30. That's dangerous. That's only 3:30 in Minnesota. So Kirk Cousins should be fine. It's not prime time. Um, but this is a game which is tough for me. I think the Giants defensively, I think, could make problems for Kirk Cousins, but at the same time, the Vikings are just too well formed of a team, especially on the offensive side. I don't know if Danny Dimes. I don't know if you're putting the ball in Danny Dimes' hands and being able to beat the Vikings in a road playoff game. I don't know if that's happening. So as much as it pains me, I have to go with the Vikings in this game.
Yeah, it's a weird. There's like a weird dichotomy of these two teams. Because on the one hand, the Vikings have won 11 games by one score. Four of their losses, they just got
11?
11 of their games were one score wins.
Yeesh.
They got absolutely bludgeoned in four of their losses. And it's one of those weird situations where smart analytical football people agree, and like traditional just like stats and standings football people agree that like this Vikings team is totally smoke and mirrors. Like they're what do they go like 12 and 5, 13 and 4,
Yeah,
something
but I
like
mean,
that.
they've had enough. They've done enough in some of those games to make you believe that they can. When they turn it on, they turn it on. I think that's
Right.
something
And
that people have seen because you're right. You are right. Statistically, analytically, yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors, to a certain extent. However, with a lot of these smoke and mirrors teams, they don't show up as many times as the Vikings have shown up. Because everything seems to be on the line, the Vikings seem to bring their A game, unlike most, except for when they played the Packers a couple weeks ago, which maybe should be a warning sign. But I'm still going with the Vikings.
yeah, it's a tough one for me because I have to counterpoint and say primetime Kirk Cousins.
Well, it's not prime time. We just said this.
Well, but I don't know. I consider any playoff game to be prime time.
Because the one playoff game he won was not in prime time,
But like it's still like the only game on,
and that
Like
was the only game on as well.
everyone's still watching that game.
Still,
I don't know.
all right. Agree to disagree.
Vi- Vikings win, Giants cover.
That's fair. That's a fair one.
There's just such a like the Giants are just so scrappy, but there's just such a clear talent advantage too that I don't know.
I got you. Moving on. Ravens at Bengals. Man, I feel bad for Tyler Huntley as well because he's going to have to start this game. Lamar Jackson ain't playing, and they're going to get rocked as well. Joe Burrow is the man. He is him. I would not be surprised for one tenth of a second if you told me that the Bengals were about to go on another run back to the Super Bowl because they are primed to do it.
Yeah, I'm really bummed that this game isn't going to be Lamar versus Joey B.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar is just so fun to watch, and I understand kind of, I feel like if they had come to some sort of long-term agreement before the season, maybe he takes a little more risk. I don't know. I'm not Lamar. I
I
can't
think
say
it
that.
the maybe I'm trusting him a little too much, but I think the injury is severe. I think it's like a
Okay.
grade 3 MCL sprain. Like it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just for what for whatever for whatever reason it's still just it's a bummer that we don't get to see those two duel, and I have to say probably the Bengals pretty easily here. I think it'd be maybe more interesting to talk about just like the Bengals prospects like going forward because um and just talking about like like sub packages for teams and personnel groupings like the Bengals deep passing game is just it is one of the best individual units in these entire playoffs, and I think that bodes really well for them, just like it did last year.
So I think we're both in pretty much agreement. It's he's Bengals all the way. Then finally, Monday Night Football, uh, Cowboys at Bucks. This feels like a weird matchup because you have the matchup between a Bucks team which is underplayed so heavily and should not be in the playoffs. If it wasn't for the fact that they were in just the worst division in football, like the worst division in football. If no real reason to be in the playoffs other than that, taking on a Cowboys team which is good, but they also struggle this time of year when it comes to these types of games against a guy like Tom Brady. And also, you have the element of it's Tom Brady. Playoff Tom Brady could come out at any second and then just dominate. So this game has me pulled in all different directions. I guess you don't get rich betting against Tom Brady, so I'll go with the Bucks. But I'm torn.
I just don't know that Tampa can muster the offense because Dallas has some dogs on that defense,
You're right.
and I think Dak always there's always the potential for Dak to just play an absolute bonkers awful game like he did last week as good of a quarterback as he's proven to be. So I guess you have to factor that in, but
I'm out here trying to
I
defend Dak in these streets, and then guess what happens? He embarrasses me. He makes me look like a chump, and so that's bad.
no, I've done it before too. I hear you. I think he's a really smart processor, but he just loses it sometimes. But Tampa is surprisingly one of the least efficient offenses in the NFL. Um, I just don't know that they can get enough go, even if it's just a gross game, even if it's like a 17-10 or because these teams played to open the season too. And it was I know teams change a lot over the course of a season, but it was a gross game earlier this season, and I would bet you it's the same again.
You gonna go with the Cowboys though?
I think so.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. That wraps it up for the games this weekend. One other thing I want to mention, I think the NFL going ahead and changing the rules to make it be a neutral site AFC Championship game is outrageous. It's ridiculous. It's unconscionable.
There's
The
there's no
idea,
good solution.
no, the good solution is to just go with how the rules were written instead of having to go into the rule book. It's unprecedented going into the rules and changing them mid-season. It's literally like you don't like the game. All right, let's rewrite the rules mid-game. Like it's bonkers. Like there should not be. Also, it robs us of one of my favorite things, which is the home field a play championship game like that
Well,
that that
it's not
conference
even
championship.
guaranteed to happen though.
Yeah, but it's
Like
very
it's
likely
well, it has to be Chiefs Bills, right?
the two best teams in the AFC. Yeah, so yeah, it's not guaranteed, but it's still. I would like to see Chiefs Bills 3 not played in Atlanta. Where what are they even going to sell that place out?
I mean, I would hope so. I mean, it sucks for it sucks for the traveling fans, but Kansas City probably thinks they're getting screwed right now because they don't get home field advantage because they probably believe they're the true one seed. If you flip
Yeah,
it back the other way, Buffalo's like we got screwed because we never got the opportunity to play for the one seed. So it's just like no everyone you're not it's just one of these things where you're not going to make everyone happy.
yeah, exactly. The life is unfair. The Chiefs should be the one seed, and that's it. They are the one seed. They're not playing. They get the bye. So I mean, what are we doing here? They already don't get the bye. The Bills don't get the bye. So are we just it's just dumb. I think it cheapens the Bills playoff run in my brain at least. If the NFL has to move things around to make them play a neutral site location so they don't have to play at Arrowhead, I really don't like that. To me, that is an easy way out. But whatever. That's my 2 cents. You
All
know,
right, I hear
I'm
you.
not. I hope that's not like. I don't know. It's nothing to do with. I mean, I don't know. I just don't. I don't appreciate that. Um, moving on. Everything comes out today about. You know what? Let's talk about our thing. So the Bears are the number one pick. Last week, I made some veiled criticisms at someone on this podcast for saying that the Bears should look at trading Justin Fields and taking Bryce Young with the number one overall pick. Now, I took exception to that, but in my fairness, my I don't even know what I would call it, but in my graciousness, I have let Zach Lyons onto the podcast to give his reasoning, and then I can respond in time. So you know what? In the feeling of fair play, you go first, Zachary.
Thank you. I appreciate you letting me have the first serve here. Um, so let me open with a question here. In its current form, do you believe the way that this Bears offense moves the ball? Do you just feel like the way that the Bears play offense in general right now is sustainable?
It's an unfair question. You know it is because obviously the answer is no, but that's not what we're talking about going forward. We know that there's a billion other things that can be plugged in there. There's a reason why the offense is played like that, and it has to do not with Justin Fields' faults, but with the faults of the entire team as a whole.
I I guess I hear you, but he's having games where he's going like 7 for 21. The offensive coordinator is taking the ball out of his hands as much as possible the first
Which
five
was a
games of the
mistake at the
season.
end of the season. It was a major mistake. If you watched that game against the Packers, if they would have put the ball into his hands, they would have won that game.
Yes,
If
he's
anyone
he's
watched that game, if Justin Fields was doing well passing the ball, they took the ball out of his hands in the fourth quarter after he played well. So no, that's not fair.
Hey man, I'm not saying it as a criticism of Fields, okay? I'm just
Okay, whatever.
it, it- you were you get this twisted because you think I'm saying that he's just a bad player in general. I'm not. He's an outstanding playmaker. But the problem is this run around, 110 rushing yards a game, seven completed passes. Like it's just not. He needs to learn to throw from the pocket. He was a less efficient passer than Zach Wilson this year. If you just look purely at passing stats,
I would check the passer rating, quarterback rating on that one, Chief.
passer rating is worthless.
And
For
QBR.
QBR factors in rushing. I'm
Still,
talking about passing only. You can hold or I don't know. It's not worth looking up, but you can split QBR into like passing, rushing, sacks, and it all breaks down into like one metric. And a lot of Fields' quarterback rating comes from his rushing ability, because he is like Lamar Jackson is the 100th percentile when it comes to quarterback rushing. Fields is 99th. Like,
okay, then that's a weak argument. Man, I was hoping for something better.
but what I'm not saying is you have to just no like no brainer take Bryce Young. I'm just saying that if you're Ryan Poles, you need to be doing your due diligence on these quarterbacks. Even if
Where are you
even
getting
if
his
you're
seven complete? So let's take a look at here. So the first three games in the last game of the season, yes, 7 completions, but then 11, 15, 14, 13, 17, 17, 12, 14, 20, 14, 15. So no,
so you're saying he had games with seven completions, correct?
at the
That's what I'm
very
saying.
beginning of the season.
it is still
At
a
the end of the
game that
season, not as
occurred.
much.
It is still I maybe he finished on a positive, but still like going he was a 50% ish passer this year, and he wasn't completing a ton of
65%.
downfield
Let's see here.
throws.
Taking away those games, well, that's so. Let me just go into my argument here. If you watch the Bears this year, you saw basically a cobbled together offensive line and one of the worst wide receiving cores in the NFL. All right, it was a atrocious product that they put around Justin Fields. The man was running for his life all the dang time, and you say he can't pass the ball. Watch him throw. I mean, the fact of the matter is, do you know something in college? He was not a run first guy in college. He wasn't. He was a pass first guy with running ability. And the only reason he has had to run so much is because he has to run for his damn life. It's the only way the Bears could get offense going. Had nothing to do with his abilities his abilities as a passer need to improve. There's still improvement that can be done, sure, but he's shown enough in the passing game. Maybe not in terms of volume, but in the samples we've seen, he's done enough in the passing game to make me believe that he can improve. It's crazy to me that you can say you look at Jalen Hurts. You want to know something crazy? Not only is Justin Fields a better runner than Jalen Hurts, he has better ability at passing as well. Better arm talent. He has better accuracy.
That's
Absolutely,
just not correct.
absolutely, no question at
Not
all.
at the NFL, not proven at the NFL
Absolutely,
level.
I don't know about that one, Chief. You just have not seen him in the correct offense. That's all I gotta say about Justin Fields. He has not been put into the correct offense. Um, it's the truth. He has more arm talent than Lamar Jackson, but he is as good of a runner at the moment as Lamar Jackson is. He can revolutionize the way the quarterback position is played. I guarantee you next year they're going to bring in receivers and they're going to show off that arm a lot more. I promise you that. Especially you look at these year 3 leaps where you add a big wide receiver one. We've seen that with Jalen Hurts. We've seen that with Josh Allen. You add a true wide receiver run, a true wide receiver one, and watch him fly. You look, you are counting out Fields, or at least you're doubting Fields, based upon what I see as stats without context. It's looking at it's not watching the game, finding the stat sheet afterwards, and then scrolling through it and trying to see the raw stats and not seeing, wait a second, wait a
I
second.
watched plenty of
How
Bears games
bad
this week,
was
dog.
that offensive line?
This year, dog.
How bad was the offensive line? How many times did those wide receivers drop easy passes, which happened a lot?
Are you allowing me to respond?
Please respond.
Yes, you are correct. The amount of times that the Bears offensive line held and a receiver got open on the same play for the Bears this year, pretty small amount of plays where both of those things occurred on the same play. So the Bears have put on an absolute clinic on how to not support a rookie quarterback, or a young quarterback. He's not a rookie anymore. But let's not pretend like that doesn't have a negative effect on Fields himself. And I'm like, it sucks. It's not his fault, but it's had a negative impact on his development regardless, and you can't deny that.
You're right. However, I think that you are making a lot of assumptions on his development, on exactly if there's irreversible damage, quote unquote, made. And also, I'd like to say this: partway through this season, the Bears, with basically nothing around them, nothing, they were putting on offensive shows, scoring 30 points a game, all on the shoulders of Justin Fields. The man was a one-man show. You saw that when you hit that game stretch when they beat the Patriots and they lost badly to the Cowboys, but Fields went off. When they had a close one against the Dolphins, you saw a bunch of different times where this offense should not have been scoring, 30 plus points in a game where they were. And it was all because of Justin Fields. And a lot of that was not just the rushing. A lot of that was especially in red zone situations, Justin Fields making specific clutch plays in the passing game. And if you could see that, which he did make those plays, sir, if you saw that watching the game, you'd say, okay, the stats might not show what his passing did here, but his passing did something here.
I I hear you. Yeah, he was a one-man offensive weapon for
So
a
why throw that away?
couple of games this season.
Couple, sure, whatever.
So was Cam Newton.
That's
And
such
he was
a ridiculous statement. I'm
and he
talking
was
about
washed and he was washed by the time he was 28. And it's not, like Fields isn't the only guy that I worry about in that same I worry about Josh Allen like flying around
my
taking all these hits.
goodness.
It Fields gets his ass kicked, my guy. It's the rushing is outstanding.
And he's
It's
not going to
just
have to
not.
do that for his entire career. Once these things are built around him, he's not going to have to rush all the damn time. He had to rush. He had to rush. He's not going to rush just constantly all the time. It's not going to be Lamar Jackson level rushing at all times. I can almost guarantee you the Bears are not going to make him do that forever. This idea that that's going to be his thing forever is ignoring everything to do with his college tapes and seeing the situation that he is in right now. So you're right, it's not sustainable, but I don't think the Bears are going to keep doing with that stuff. And then finally, I'm just going to say this before we stop talking about this. The idea of trading him away and bringing in Bryce Young, it really
I never
is
said it had to be Bryce Young.
Bryce Young or any of these quarterbacks. It's a flip. It's a coin flip in the draft. You know this, Zach. Even with the top prospects, you don't know. There's a good chance a lot of these times these guys don't work out. And so the idea that, you're going to throw away a guy like Fields, who has otherworldly abilities, who has shown that he can perform at an NFL level, and you hear players talk about him, players and coaches saying, man, this guy, like wide-eyed after having to defend this guy. You hear these guys talk about this stuff. And then you still run around with these same tropes and you say that he can't play quarterback at the NFL level and at a high level going forward. And I just think that's very short-sighted. And it really is, and saying, well, maybe they should look at one of these other quarterbacks. It really is just, you remember that Family Guy clip where they go in and they're promised a free boat? Like, oh, you can take the boat, but
no, I know
you can take the mystery box.
I saw your tweet.
Yeah. Well, I didn't tweet it. Someone else tweeted it. But
yeah, you probably retweeted it.
I think I favored it and you saw it. But
yeah,
that's exactly what this is. This is really just, we could have Justin, the mystery box could be anything. It could even be Justin Fields. Like, get out of here. All right.
Final point, and then we can cut it off. A rookie quarterback or a quarterback on a rookie contract that's playing well is the single most valuable thing in the NFL. They have already wasted 2 years of that on Fields. But you also don't necessarily have to stay at one to pick a quarterback, right? Because we learn a lot through the next 2 months about these guys, and draft boards start to shift. I have a pretty good feeling that they trade away the one to some desperate ass team like the Texans. They get back a first and a high second, or even like multiple, some sort of package with multiple firsts. Because you can the 1-1 is a very, very valuable pick. So I'm saying we could both be right here, and the Bears walk away with some awesome talent to build around with insert quarterback here. But they could also trade down and still grab a guy that they can control and build around for 5 years rather than 3, since they've already wasted 2 on Fields.
I just think it just doesn't work that way. I just really think the way human beings work, the way that football works, it's very easy to see these things on paper, to see 5 years, to see this kind of stuff, but it's hard to really understand it. And it's also a issue of overthinking, which I think is something that NFL teams do too much. They overthink these situations. They overthink it Justin Fields is a good quarterback. He's going to be a very good quarterback going forward. He could be an elite quarterback if they play their cards right. And he could change the way that the NFL plays the game, especially if his passing game comes to fruition next year. Moving on, finally, OBJ. So the video came out today, OBJ on a flight. We heard about this like a month ago. Finally, the flight actually came out, the footage. He looks like a real dick. He's kicking people off the plane, or he's basically because he wouldn't buckle his seatbelt or something. I think he was kind of messed up and they kicked everyone off the plane because of it. Listen, it looks a really bad look for OBJ. Don't get me wrong. But also, I don't know if I could care less. A guy who's not even signed to a team, who's like acting like a diva after he's acted like a diva his entire career. Jeez, man, I'm gonna get all up in arms and but no, I'm not. What are you gonna do?
I
What's
don't. Yeah, I don't generally entertain internet content like this. Like, oh, it's just gonna inspire some other hooligan out there.
all right? Moving on. Carlos Correa signs with the Twins after he was going to sign with the Giants, and then he was going to sign with the Mets, but then they both got spooked out by a lower leg injury, and now he's on the Twins. They got him for 6 years, $200 million. It could be a steal, but at the same time, he could step onto the field and then like disappear into dust. Like just step on the field and just you know from what I could tell, because that lower leg injury could be something serious if like it's as bad as they're saying it is.
Yeah, I've heard those same concerns. I hate to talk about a guy's well-being and career in terms of dollars and cents, but it's baseball contract. You kind of almost have to, and
Of course,
um they did get a discount on him considering the number of years. They weren't, the Correa's camp was finally willing to commit to a reduced number of years, just due to the perceived risk of the owners by this injury you're talking about. And I think the Twins are in a good spot because they do have decent options if it starts to affect him, and maybe he loses his range at shortstop and has to move to third base. They have Royce Lewis, a former number one overall pick. They have some other shortstops in the farm. Um, they have, I think they gave themselves flexibility here. And best case scenario, they just nailed down an all-star shortstop for 6 years. So
the only thing I'll say is that the Twins kind of still aren't very good. So I mean, I don't know how much of a difference this is really going to make on their prospects. If he ends up being great and the Mets struggle, it'd be very funny to watch Mets fans melt down about that. Um, the Mets. I mean, they said they want to spend a bunch of money, and then next thing you know, they're getting all antsy about spending money. It just seems like you're going back and forth here now. Like, I mean, if Stephen Cohen has like this like unlimited bankroll he's going to throw around, I mean, why not take a chance on Correa? I'm just, it just to me seems like, I guess you got to be smart about your spending, but I mean, I don't know. It seems like you can make that leap, and they decide not to. I guess I get it with the Giants because even though they're big spenders, they're also a relatively small market, but still,
yeah, and the Mets have already thrown around some money with Verlander this offseason.
true,
So, and maybe there's a lot of behind closed doors we don't know about the negotiations as well. So
true, true. It's a good point. Good point, Zachary. You finally made a good point on this podcast. One
first one ever.
yes,
I'm in
first one,
finally in the win column.
first one over. One last thing before we talk about our special topic for the day. Um, After the national championship, apparently it came out that Kirby Smart had convinced his players that everyone thought they were going like 5-7,
Oh
like in the
yes,
post game.
don't get me
And
started on those.
listen, I legitimately think I figured it out. I figured out how these coaches do it. Like
He's a
Kirby
prop.
Smart and
He,
Nick Saban, they legitimately convince their players that everyone thinks they're terrible. They get 5 stars and then they just tell them, you like everyone thinks that everyone's doubt like they figure out a way to make these guys think people are doubting them. And the way
Oh
to
yeah,
beat these guys, the way to get beat these teams to make sure that Georgia doesn't win a third straight national championship is by getting into these players' ears saying, "No, bro, we all love you. You're the best. You're the best team in the country. You're gonna win the national championship for sure." Because if you do that, you can poke a hole in there, and they won't want it at all because they won't be motivated.
yeah, they're fucking propagandists.
It's crazy. That's impressive. I think
Now
Putin needs to take some notes.
the video, I was rolling like my eyes almost got stuck. I rolled my eyes so
Oh,
hard
I
at the
bet.
video that was like they thought we was going to go 6-6, 5-7. Like, come on, get out of here.
It's tough. Between that and the barking, it's tough for everyone's eardrums.
Yeah, did you see that Georgia Tech message board? It's just like I saw a grown man barking in a gas station this morning. Make it stop, please.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tough scene. It's not fun. All right, let's talk about our special topic. Biggest glow downs or falls from grace. I think this is a really interesting one because I feel like there's so it's what brought us on is Chris Beard, going from having like the number one team in the country and making $30 million a year to now fired, which is just like that's as big of a fall from grace as I've seen in a while, right? Like that's real
Mm.
bad. So I was thinking, well, what are some other really good falls from grace? I gotta say, in sports, OJ's got to be 1-1, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's your undisputed one seed
OJ
in the
is 1-1
bracket.
because he was like
Um,
beloved.
he's your odds on favorite to win the title.
Mm-hmm.
If we did this like barstool bracket style.
But also giving him a low round for his money because he was no longer playing football at that time. He was, doing endorsements and stuff like that. I guess he was sportscasting maybe, but I don't know. Joe Paterno.
I'll Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to
Mm-hmm.
return serve with was Joe Paterno.
Because that was a quick one too. I remember being a kid and like Joe Paterno was like a god in college football, basically,
And
like
then and then he was
beloved.
and then he was out, and then he was like it was weird. He was dead like 3 months, almost like three
That's
months later. It was
crazy.
really weird.
He
Yeah.
just died like that. And they still like defend him in Happy Valley. They're still like Joe didn't know. Like it's crazy that kind of like how hard people are to accept. They can't accept it. They can't accept that this guy they loved like so much, and they like told their kids to love, like he was maybe not everything they thought that he was, and that he helped a monster get away with something for a long time. It's crazy. I feel like those two are probably the ones that come to mind most often. I feel like there's well, I mean, we were talking about Trevor Bauer. That was a pretty quick fall from grace. He was like the best pitcher in the league to no one wants to touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Deshaun Watson was a
Deshaun
pretty,
Watson, pretty massive one as well. It's
everyone loved him prior to the scandal. Um, let's see, who else do we have in
Deshaun
here?
Watson. But the crazy thing was, we never heard anything out of Clemson. Nothing.
No,
Nothing.
no,
Because that's
nothing.
usually there's some type of run up to it. There's some incident that people heard about. Maybe they put it behind them. Like
Yeah,
no, like there's something. There was
there's
nothing.
like a Laramie Tunsil bong or something like that in the lead up that
Just
gets
something.
exposed. But
I think there was
yeah.
probably some stuff with Vic before everything came out with Michael Vick.
Hmm.
But at the
Yeah,
same
he
time, Vic,
he he rebounded,
he
but
Tiger, and he rebounded as well. My dad
hmm
loved Tiger growing up. He what like when I was growing up, my dad like loved Tiger, and when that broke his heart. Like that
oh
was
man.
so many middle-aged white men were just crushed by the Tiger Woods news. Just ruined their days.
I don't know, when it's like 2 a.m. and I can't sleep, I just go and watch old Tiger highlights. So I
It was
I, I
incredible.
feel I feel it.
And also, I mean, it's also important to point out that right after that came out, is when his performance went down. And obviously, you can point to a bunch of different injuries and stuff like that, but that had to play into it. So that was a massive fall from grace as well. We're talking about these kinds of falls from grace because you remember how great they were before everything came crashing down, and
Hmm.
then just sad.
a
Sadness.
whole new perspective afterwards.
SMU football.
Yeah, I guess yeah, we weren't, you and I weren't really around for that one,
We
so I
weren't
can't
around for
really
that one, yes,
contextualize
but
that. But
did you watch
you
30
know,
for 30?
yeah, being the only program in the history of D1 to just get the ban hammer
Mm-hmm.
is pretty insane.
Yeah, I'd say so. I
Produce,
I
especially some of the NFL players they produced.
oh yeah, Eric Dickerson. Yeah, and yeah,
I'm drawing a blank on a lot of guys too.
but we still came up with a good. There's a good number there. There's still a good number.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um. Gosh, fall. The thing we love about sports, one of the things I've really noticed is that sports, it really is just reality television in a lot of ways, except it's more real than most reality television. If that makes any
yeah, it's
sense.
just yeah. No, I've said something similar before. It's just like, especially the NBA. Oh my God, the NBA is like reality TV for men. Like, just all the social media clips and subtweeting and
That's another
guys
here.
being bros, but guys also,
I got you.
yeah,
Well, just based on performance, a really big fall from grace was Dwight Howard.
yeah, he did fall off a cliff with the Rockets.
No, even like
Um,
because he when he was with the Magic, he was legitimately top three player in the NBA, superstar status.
oh, there's this. Oh God, who was the
He was so good.
defensive tackle? It like the ESPN just gave this a like a unnecessary amount of coverage at the time it happened, but it was like some defensive tackle that was like awesome,
Oh,
then
Aaron
signed with the Red.
Hernandez.
No, defensive
No,
tackle.
I know,
Oh
but I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
falls from grace. Aaron
Oh
Hernandez.
yeah. Well, yeah. That's yeah. I feel like that. I don't know. I don't know how we forgot that one. That should
Yeah,
have been
that's a
like the
big one.
free space on the bingo card.
Mm-hmm. Who was defensive tackle?
Um, it was like some defensive tackle that was really awesome. Then he signed with the Redskins, and then was
Terrible.
it's like got super fat and failed a bunch of conditioning. Albert Hainsworth, I
That's
think.
right, Albert Hainsworth. Yeah, that was a big problem.
Yeah, and it's like he wasn't even I don't know, like defensive tackles aren't usually like, big media coverage guys, but ESPN was just all over that shit one summer for some reason.
I remember that. I remember they talk about that when they talk about the worst free agent signings. Albert Hainsworth comes up pretty commonly, pretty commonly.
Yeah.
But just on Dwight Howard, when I remember grew up in Orlando when that was going on, when Dwight fever was happening, and that man was like next level up there. He had, I think, when he left Orlando, he had more endorsements than LeBron. Like
Oh yeah, he was a physical specimen.
he was a
Like,
physical specimen. He was a star. He was like a billion time defensive player of the year. He was unbelievable. And then he leaves for the Lakers, and then from there it just kind of just goes off a cliff completely.
yeah, oh yeah, I forgot about the did he go Rockets and then Lakers or Lakers and
Lakers,
then Rockets?
Rockets.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And the whole Kobe Nash. God, what a
Oh,
disaster that
this is going to
was.
be fun. Do you remember that cover?
Yeah. God, what a mess. Rip Kobe though, but God, what a mess that
Rip Kobe.
was.
Rip Kobe. Any case, folks, thank you all for watching and or listening. Subscribe Ice Cold Sports on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all that jazz. Ice Cold SBRTS on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. My socials at Tommy S. Gann on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and um, Zach underscore Lions 24 on Twitter.
You got it.
There you go. I'm Tommy Gann. That's Zach Lyons, and this has been Ice Cold.
Sports.
There you go. See you guys.